Yeah, we were there. They're going to have a solar panel. So switching to that, I read someplace where you did across two batteries, that's not good. They don't fully charge cells or something. So I do one battery at a time. There's a battery. I always think someplace I read that. I guess
How's it been going?
By the way, we're on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had it on.
It's another thing to follow something.
Yeah. Good, I'm glad you did. It's one of my no idea where they are. This part
You have what you want, but usually between 20. Right now, they're in Grand Canyon. They were supposed to be. Thank you, Beth. It's always so nice to have you with us.
Always good.
Good morning. Welcome to our Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. I'm Cindy Nelson, and I join you today as service leader of this growing, journeying, liberal faith community. For we are a people of faith, faith in our expansive welcome, faith in our ability to grow, faith in the precious gift of truths, faith in the promise of trying, learning, changing, faith in the capacity to know ourselves and each other more deeply. We welcome all of you to our service of faith in person and online. Thank you for being a part of this faith journey. And welcome to our visitors, and we have quite a few today. It's lovely to see you. If you are comfortable doing so, please stand and introduce yourselves. Tell us where you are from. Anyone willing to do that? He's moving in that direction. I can see him.
Hi, my name is Danny. We're from Sturgeon Bay. Our first time.
Welcome, Danny and Debbie. Welcome. Others that would like to?
Lee from Fish Creek.
Good morning.
Exactly. Visitor I've been many times and always enjoy it.
Great. Thank you for joining us again. Anyone else?
Mark and Laura from Wanakee, Wisconsin.
Welcome, Mark and Laura. Well, thank you all for being here with us. A few minor housekeeping details. Please raise your hand if at any time you're having difficulty hearing. Bruce monitors the system and will help you out. Last week's plan of getting your own hymnal upon entering and then returning it upon leaving worked quite well. However, we do keep reminding people, so if you forgot today, some of our greeters will grab a couple extra hymnals. Just raise your hand to make sure that you can sing along with us. Also, please turn off any cell phones or other devices that might interrupt our service. Our talk back will commence about 15 minutes after the service has ended. This gives you time to grab a cup of tea or coffee, chat a bit, and then join us over here. At this time, if you have any announcements for the good of the fellowship, Terry has the mic. And Karen is ready to go.
You probably noticed that there's a new exhibition up, and I'd like to introduce you to Christy Dietz, the artist. Sorry. She taught painting and drawing at UW Green Bay for over 25 years, so she is actually a colleague of mine. She recently retired, and she has an international reputation and has exhibited widely throughout the United States. She has a website, and if you're interested at all, you can go and see her work, which she does in series, starting out with paintings and ending up with what you see here today. You may think that this work was especially prepared for Easter. However, that is not the case. She didn't just whip this together. We have a shape, this series and other earlier series that she's done involve a shape-shifting rabbit that frequently appears with his sidekick, Kitty Boy, in narratives filled with dark humor, visual puns, symbols, and metaphors. Moments of silence, art historical allusions, cultural collusions, and spiritual conundrums to play with style and construction. This exhibit is very unusual in that it's a series of industrial jacquard weavings that have been done commercially based on paintings that she's done in the past. So what she does is puts her image on and sends her images to this manufacturer that created the image that you'll see today. She has probably 30 more that we couldn't hang. So it's interesting to see that what she's done is to take the multiple layered process of the paintings and depicting illusionistically rendered fabric and patterns with embroidery that lead her to explore the complex threads of industrial jacquard weavings that add another visual and conceptual layer to process and product. Christy will be available during our coffee hour, of course, and we've started something new today. We're going to see how it goes. After the talk back concerning the sermon today, we're going to have 15 minutes for you to ask Christy any questions you have, and we'll just do it in the same area as the talk back. So I'm hoping that you'll stick around for that. It's a totally new idea.
I have two announcements under Joyce. The first one is if any of you get the Daily Pulse email, this morning they had articles on the backgrounds of the candidates running for Sister Bay, and our chair, Rob Zosky, his opening comment was, we welcome window clings that you see around the community and in our businesses are the spirit of Sister Bay. And as we know, Those came from our fellowship, those window clings. So it is now Door County News. So that was great. The second announcement is it's been a week of particular joy here for the fellowship as the solar installation is now completed and the switch is on. Yes. Yeah. So as you look around in the room and see all the lights on, they're solar powered. Watch for an announcement when our leader gets back, when Gray Boys, we expect to have some kind of a little ceremony out in the back, maybe Earth Day. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Richards. I just want to remind you that April 27th is Madison Action Day, sponsored by Wisdom, Wisconsin Interfaith Organization. UUs are going to gather with Senator Kelda Helen Royce, who is a lifelong UU from Madison, and she is going to speak with us, and we can have a conversation about how UU values can be employed in state government. If you need some information, let me know. I'll send you the email.
Mary Smythe, I know you all know there's an election on Tuesday. So I know you'll all be there or you've already voted absentee. But if you haven't voted yet, Matt Rothschild, who is the executive of Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, wrote out comments on the 3 statewide referendums that you will be voting on. And I printed out his comments and they're on the desktop. So feel free to take one of them, read it through and see what you think. Thanks.
Thank you. Bob Lindahl has some special announcements. Are you coming up here, Bob?
Well, as we begin to see that spring might just come, it's a wonderful way to start talking about our pledge drive coming up. This is the time of year when we all will begin to think about what it's going to take to help UU FDC flourish and grow starting this coming July. So we take this time now to begin thinking about that. So I'm Bob Lindahl. I'm your treasurer here at the fellowship. And so it's my privilege to kick off our pledge drive today. Just by asking you to think about the pledge drive as being much more than money. I think it's a good time of year for all of us to dig deeper inside. And you'll get a reminder this week on this because you'll be receiving a letter this week on the pledge drive. But it's a reminder for us to all dig in deeper and say, what does the fellowship mean to me personally? And what do I have that I can give to the fellowship to make it flourish and function? It's a good time for all of us to look at the time we have available and the abilities and what's the mix of that time and those abilities that we can say, okay, I can dig deeper into my time and my abilities because this place is important to me. And then, of course, financially, the fellowship is really, we can look at it as a family because it is a family. And we all know that our family budgets require us to have lights on. We're helping with that now. It's nice to have heat occasionally. We hire help. We hire people to do things we can't do, such as the work Sarah does, the work Juliana does, the work Carol does. For us, we hire people. We decide among ourselves what are our family priorities for giving away things. And so we have some committees that do things like that for us. We care for each other. And so we're helping with the pledge drive to fund our family. Sometimes that's not as much fun as the extra drives that we have that have been so successful, but we've got to fund our family. So fellowship has been very supportive, and we're so fortunate that year to year, we have been able to fund the operations, fund the time, but I would ask you to think about those other areas too, your time, your energies, your abilities, and to think about how your support of the fellowship is such an important part of what we do. So we'll be keeping this on an upper burner for the next month, but again, would ask you to consider, what does UUFDC mean to you, and what can you do then to return the favor to USFDC? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Let me take this opportunity to introduce our speaker today. Ada Quet, also known as Guy Ryder, has been working to protect the Menominee and Wolf rivers and to revitalize the culture and language of the Menominee tribe in Wisconsin. In his words, we Menominees were given the responsibility to look after that river and land by the Creator thousands of years ago, and that supersedes any treaty or any law. This Menominee River is a part of me. Its essence is within my soul. So it is truly our privilege to have Guy here with us today. As it is the first Sunday of the month, April, and as Bob said, spring is around the corner, we try to highlight one of our 7 principles. I felt it would be fitting, given our speaker's topic, to highlight number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Therefore, I read to you from the Menominee Rebuilders website on environmental justice. Our relationship with nature and all living beings dates back to the creation of our people. We have a special relationship with Mother Earth, all animals, and nature. We are entrusted to be stewards of this world and to be a voice and advocate for those that don't have one. Let us begin our service. In the beginning, there was light, infinite and expansive, flowing out from an unseen center. Throughout creation, there is light from the steady sun, the glowing moon, the flashing meteor, the twinkling stars, and the auroras dancing in the northern skies. Within each part of creation, there is light, slowed down and held close by every cell and molecule, by each atom and element. Within you, there is light, the same light as the source, the same radiance that is all creatures. May this small flame be a constant reminder to you of your true nature and your kinship with all beings. Please stand as you are able to sing hymn number 298, Wake Now Our Senses. We are going to sing all 5 verses. It's a little long, but the words are very powerful. And then stay standing to say the unison affirmation and to sing the doxology.
Take out my reason.
We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. Now it is time to share our personal joys and sorrows, an integral part of our community, where together we share the happiness so that we may rejoice with each other, or the sorrow because together we may lessen the burden. Again, Terry has the mic.
Lynn Lees, speaking for Helene DiUlio. She's on the mend. She fell on Tuesday at home and broke her hip. Had surgery Wednesday. She's doing great. She will have rehab at the hospital in Sturgeon Bay in the same room she's in now. They do now have full rehab services. So text or call her before you visit. You know Helene, she likes a tad of control, as we all do at a certain age. But she's in pretty good spirits, and her daughter Amy's been with her, and of course Emily too.
Thank you, Lynn.
I have a joy. I'm delighted to see Tom and Ethel Davis with us this morning, and I'm very proud to announce that they have been named the Door County Poets Laureate for the next 2 years. So congratulations.
So again, I have a concern about people being shot in schools. Just lifting up the names of the folks in Tennessee this week. Somebody sent out a meme on Facebook that's listed all of the school shootings since Columbine. There had to be 200 of them. It's really time, isn't it?
Thank you, Terry. Ooh, one more.
One more. Well, it's wonderful to be here today. All my visits up here this winter have been like during the middle of the week, and I haven't been able to get here for quite a while. But I have a joy in that in about 2 weeks, no, a week and a half now, I'll be going to Spain to visit our youngest son and his family, who've been over there now for 4 years. We've seen David, but I haven't seen the boys for a couple of years now. And so looking forward to going over there. We took the advantage of Wilma's going to North Carolina to visit a girlfriend of hers, and I said, well, as long as you're going to be out of town, why don't I be out of town too? So,
It's nice to have you back, Bob. It's time for our offering, contributing as we can to sustain our fellowship and the works that we believe in. Thank you as always for your generosity. Please stand as you are able and join me in reading number 551 in your hymnal. Earth, teach me. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light.
Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory.
Earth, teach me caring as parents who secure their young.
Earth, teach me courage as the tree which stands all alone.
Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground.
Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle which soars in the sky.
Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall.
Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring.
Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life.
Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain.
Please take a moment of quiet to center yourselves so that you may be open to the message that God has prepared for us.
So, Anakwit Natakam, Wapasha Nitotam, Kashika Nitski Wakin, Nanichi Anuk, Wapanuki, Wapeto, Skinik, Nana Mosiru, Kanema Tamil, Waiwanan Mauniwea, Kayosaitua. My English name is Guy Ryder. My real name is Anakwit, from the Menominee Nation, located not too far from here. I introduced myself in our sacred language, which is the original language of this land. This is our ancestral homeland, as Menominees are the longest living inhabitants of this place they call Wisconsin and Upper Michigan. We've been here longer than any other tribe. All the other tribes have migration stories, and ours starts at the mouth of the beautiful Menominee River, which is located between Meredith, Wisconsin, and Menominee, Michigan. So I too wanted to just for a moment, make sure that we're present in our bodies and present that we're here in this time. All of us understand living in this rat race of a world. We can kind of get lost in the future, or we can get caught thinking about what had happened and stay in those. But truly, the freedom mentally of being in the moment, being in the present time is really important. So I'm just going to ask for just a few seconds that we breathe together, and we can close our eyes or however we feel, we need to. But when we close our eyes, or if we're going to breathe together, I just want you to make sure you can feel your shoes and your clothes on your body, that you're paying attention to those things, that you can feel our beautiful mother that is underneath us, that is giving us and holding us up and giving us all this beautiful energy. So I just for a moment, I'll take a couple breaths together. We'll take 3 breaths together. We'll go 1 in our nose, hold, out our mouth. 1 more, ready? In our nose, hold, out our mouth. Last one, in our nose, hold, out our mouth. Breath. Thank you. So I think it's very important, that we try to be here in the moment together, that we share this time together. On my drive up here, I was seeing just how amazing this place is and how beautiful it is by getting close to the water and seeing that. Our reservation is really amazing place, and the sustainable forestry practices that are there, and the way that our people take care of the earth on our reservation is world class. And anybody, I know they've written books about it. Mr. Davis's book is a testament to that, of just the way we see and operate in our forests. And you can come up there, down there, I guess. Come down there and see the way in which that Wisconsin might have looked prior to European invasion. That's how important and beautiful the land is. It really is. 35,000 acres is our reservation. It's very pristine. It's probably 90% woodlands, if not more. Trees, you can see 200-year-old oaks and maples. It's really quite incredible. But the drive up here, made me think of a couple different things, and stories to us are very important. And I don't really like that word story, because it makes it seem as if it's a fable or that it's fake or something, that there's no realness to it, right? Our people took great care of our stories, even through all the things that have happened to us as a people. They didn't just make things up, right? Some people, it would take them their whole life to understand these stories and make sure that these stories are intact and that they're told the way in which they came, in that sacred original way, and it's quite beautiful when you think about that. But it made me think of stories that are does everybody know what placebo means? Placebo, for you that don't know, could be like if I give you a water pill or a sugar pill and I tell you that's going to make you, feel really healthy and good. And if you believe the story, you actually will. You'll see your chemistry change in your body. You'll actually feel better. There are stories like that, placebo stories, but the opposite of that is nocebo. And nocebo stories are quite the opposite, right? Where I could give you the same sugar pill or whatever and tell you that it's poison and you're going to get sick. And if they would monitor you, if you believe that story, you would see rather quickly that your body would be going into decline if you believe that story. That's how important our stories are. And one of the things that I've been fighting back against is the story or the narrative of our people, right? That we are drunks, that we're lazy, that we're all these things they say we are, right? And in my community, you can really understand a community by the signs that are in that community. What are they telling themselves, right? What's the story? And it seemed in our community that we were believing that story that was being told about us, that nocebo story, right? Of that we were all these things, right? 1 in 4 diabetic, that we're have this alcohol and nicotine, all these things, right? They say that we are. So when I started to push back against the project, the Back 40 mine, which some of you are aware of, it's a sulfide mine they're trying to put on the Menominee River, which is our home river where we're from. We also wanted to attack that narrative, like I said, about us as people. And in our community, we've seen the signs that the stories we were telling ourselves and the stories that we were believing. Our people were believing that we were weak and that we were not strong or whatever these things that were being said about us. And what you may not know about us as Menominees is that one time they called us dreamers. And in our language, there's a word for it. And it's hard to really translate our beautiful language into this English language. English language is very basic, and it's like it can't even describe very simple things in our language. And I would say that English language is a dominant, or I would say that it's like a problem-based language. It's a deficit thinking language, right? It sees those things and it builds whole things around those things, and it's really based in fear. And our language isn't like that. Our language is actually quite the opposite of that. It's about building relationship, and it's about compassion and love and togetherness, right, in our language. So this word, tepapu, that's the way you say it in our language. And it roughly translates to he or she can see what's coming, right? So they used to be in our community quite a bit. And if you had problems or if you're struggling with something, you could go to these ones. You could give them some tobacco and they would tell you, well, come back in a couple of days or whenever, and I'll have your answer. And then they would dream about it, right? Then you come back to them and then they would tell you whatever it is you were looking for. But it's not as if they were just not taking the time to connect to spirit and taking the time like we just did to make sure that we're in communion with our beautiful mother and all these spirits and all these environment, animals, plants, trees, all those things. And we started our organization, Minneconnequen, which is located on the Menominee Indian Reservation, a nonprofit. We started it by calling all the dreamers in our community. And we wanted them to start dreaming again through our history. And you can read about it in books, of the way in which we were treated as a people. And it's nothing short of genocide. But in that, in the treatment, if a people would go through something like that, and if they were able to just hold on to a bit of their dignity and to their pride and to a little bit of their identity and their language, they must be some incredible resilient and strong people. And how could they do that, right? How could they do that? And I would challenge any other community to go through what we went through and see how it is you come out of that, right? To see if you have the strength and the resilience to do that, because there's been many cultures that haven't. So when I think of that, I think of, the strength that our people on, and why wouldn't we call that out? Why wouldn't we remind ourselves that we are survivors, right? That we are the strongest of the strong. There are no cowards among us on that reservation. We've been through it all. We've been through forced relocation. We've been through boarding school. We've been through all the epidemics and all the things that have killed our people. But our bloodline, our strength is still here. We're still living. And that's the way I tend to see our people. And I thought that if we're going to do anything here in this community, in our community, we're going to stand on the pillars of our people. We're going to stand on that strength. We're going to stand on that resiliency. We're going to build from there. And how did they do that, right? It's a miracle to me to think that you could go through something so very detrimental and atrocious to you as a people and come out that way in some way. And if we're still coming out. But, just to think about that, and think about the strength of those ones that have done that, it's through our culture and through our language and our connection to this beautiful place here, this in our language, Koko Masokamakana, right? Big, long, beautiful word that just describes this history that we've had with this beautiful Mother Earth and all that she does for us, all the things that she upholds for us, and she's been holding us up and feeding us and giving us these things for so many years. On the ride up here, I was thinking about our creation story, and if you these stories are very long. So this one I'm going to talk about 3 days long. So we're going to have to strap in. It's going to be a while. No, I'm just kidding. They are long though. I mean, in their original form, and it does take a long time. But I'm not going to get into that. You can actually look up, I think, on Google, on Grandfather Google, and find the answer to the origin of the Menominee people. And it's a beautiful story, but it really is only about 1% of the true story. And the other thing is if you don't know our language, it's hard to understand the nuances of that story and the beauty and the positiveness of it, even though you can get it from just reading it in English. But I was thinking more about the story before the story, and our understanding as people. We have a story of how this earth came to be, right? Of how this universe was built. Our stories go back that far, right, to the beginning of time. And this particular story I was thinking of is when our Creator and our belief, right, the way we understand things. And I always feel like everybody has the right to believe in what it is they believe in. It's been a long time since our people been able to believe in what it is that we were given, this beautiful way of life as a people. But in this story, I'm not going to tell it all because it's a long story as well, and we don't have the time. But it is really a beautiful story. But in that story, I'm going to go through it a bit here. But they say in the beginning, the Creator himself, herself, was all alone in the darkness. And if we close our eyes, you can see that darkness, right? You can see these little particles and things and all the stuff we're thinking about. And it said that our Creator was thinking these thoughts, and he was pushing his thoughts out into the universe, or into this dark void, and that they would go on forever. And after a while, he had to call back his thoughts and her thoughts, and she had to think about it. My thoughts need to go somewhere. I need to have a place for these thoughts to go, because they can't just go aimlessly out into this black void. So that was the first time he thought of creating a place where his thoughts could be, or her thoughts could be. And it was after this time that she had started to create this universe of ours. And it was this beautiful place that he finally, after he got the sun and all these stars and all these other planets in place, it was then that he thought, okay, now I'm going to construct this place where my thoughts will go, where they will reside, where she thought her thoughts should go and reside. And in that story, it talks about how the birds were descended upon the earth. The Creator had given them all the seeds that they needed. And that these birds took these seeds all over the earth, right, all over this beautiful planet. And the Creator had watched that, right? He had watched these seeds being dropped onto the earth and watching these seeds go into the earth and germinate and then spread their roots, right? And fight through the soil and come out of the earth and to grow into all this green and all these things it's seen. It said that in that story that the Creator, after witnessing this, had started to cry because she had seen for the first time his thoughts in physical form and how beautiful he says that our mother was at that time in her infancy. How beautiful of a dress she had on with all the plants and the flowers and all the medicines that were growing on her. And the Creator couldn't contain himself of how happy and just how beautiful it was, the sight that he seen. And there's a whole lot more to that story. And but I wanted to highlight that part because in my own life, as I was coming up this way, I thought of that. And I thought when I got by this water just down the road, how beautiful that must have been in the original way when it was, but how beautiful it is now, and that I can still see with my own eyes the beauty of it and how much I do love it and see that I get the joy to be able to sit there and look at it and be a part of it and understand that it comes from me, right? In that story, they talk about how that spirit can't touch this physical life, right? That the spirit that only exists in this different plane of life. And the only way you can really, truly experience this earth is if you have your own vessel. We're all fortunate, well, I think all of us, right, have our own vessel, I'm pretty sure, that we can still experience this life and that we can enjoy it and see it for what it is. And, there probably will come a time, and I have no doubt there will come a time, and that we'll be on closer to the time of when we will no longer be able to experience this earth in this way, that we will be moving on into that spirit world. And I think when you think about that, it can be sad, but also, it leads you to think of that we should be present in our life and that we should see this world and experience all the beauty of it, and that we understand that these animals and these birds, they too should get that gift that they were originally given by the Creator to live the fullness of this life. And we should try to speak up for them because they don't have that gift of talk like we do. And they can't come to these meetings, right? And they can't voice these concerns. But I bet if they did, I bet we would listen and I bet you they'd have a profound voice. But I feel like, our beautiful Mother Earth is our first teacher, or one of our first teachers. And that if we just stop and take a minute to listen, she'll tell us all the things that it is we need to know. All those things that we struggle with, all those things that we're searching for, she has those answers. They're there. Sometimes the most obvious things are what's right in front of you, and you can't see it. So this rights of nature is for me, is based on a lot of that. It's based on the way that I understand this place they call Wisconsin or the earth, or that they even our people refer to it as Turtle Island, and there's a beautiful story attached to that of how that came to be. But the rights of nature, real simply, I just wanted to read a few things about it. You can definitely look it up and figure out more about it, and I'll kind of talk about that. But I think it's important for us to always remember our beautiful mother. And most importantly, I think it's important to remember our water. Our water is so important. We all need it to survive. We all need it to live, to exist here. Not only us, but the plants, not only us, but the animals and the trees, they all need that. And that we at least one time a day, even if it's just a couple seconds, to give thanks to it, to appreciate what it does for us. It never asks anything in return from us, but it gives us so much. And that we should just at least have a little bit of gratefulness to it and thank it for all that it does. So the rights of nature, is a movement, not only in Indian country, but all over, to protect our land and natural resources. It's basically recognizing the legal rights of our ecosystem. And it could be as simple as a river, or it could be a mountain, it could be a plant, it could be lots of things. So for a river, to have such rights would include the rights to pure water, to be able to flow as a river, to provide habitat for river species, and other essential rights to health and well-being of those ecosystems. I feel like it's an opportunity for our indigenous people who've lived so very closely to this earth to be able to get a bit of their worldview into our governing documents. These documents that are in place now are not designed to protect our earth. They're not designed to protect us as a people. They're quite the opposite. I will say that I started in opposition to this mine, I would say like 2012, 2013, but I really got involved in 2015 against this project, the Back 40 mine, which is still in, they're still trying to do it, but we kind of got them on the ropes a bit. During that fight, I had thought I was maybe pretty naive to this. Is all we got to do is bring up the Clean Water Act, and that'll stop all this, right? That's all we got to do. And I was that naive, and it wasn't until after I read it, I was like, what in the heck? This isn't designed to protect our people. This isn't designed to protect our land. It's actually quite the opposite. It allows pollution, and it allows these things, and it allows our earth to get to where it is now. And I was like, man, it was such a letdown for me. But this rights of nature, I feel, is an opportunity to kind of rectify some of that if we band together. And the other thing I wanted to mention is how many of you guys remember the Chippewa treaty rights fight? A few of you? So that was a pretty tumultuous time here in Wisconsin when our Ojibwe tribes were trying to get back their hunting and fishing rights that was taken from them. And there was a lot of contested rope landings, and there was a lot of times there was just one rope there that was dividing people that were opposed to people that were for. And it got pretty ugly at times. Does anybody remember the Crandon mine, the Exxon mine fight? A few more hands goes up, that's good. So it was right on the footsteps of that Chippewa Treaty hunting and fishing rights is when the Crandon mine kicked off. And it was quite the opposite. It was where, non-natives and natives came together to oppose something. And it was an incredible time. And I was a young man. And I was involved in it in the sense that they would just drag me out to walk, and I didn't really know what I was doing or why I was doing it. But out of that came this, we ended up winning it. The Potawatomi, Menominee, and Mole Lake were able to buy the land where the mine was going to be and it shut it down. But out of that came this beautiful law called the Prove It First law. Has anybody ever heard of that? the Prove It First law. So basically what that Prove It First law said was, you can't operate a mine in Wisconsin if you haven't operated one somewhere else for 10 years, and then it was closed for 10 years, and then you could demonstrate that it wasn't polluting its environment. A very no-nonsense law. It puts all the emphasis on the company to demonstrate that. And that law basically is a mining moratorium, because there's no extraction company or no sulfide mine that could ever do that, right? So for 20-some years or whatever it was, 25 years, there was never an application here in Wisconsin, nothing, right? That got rescinded like 2 years ago by a gentleman by the name of Tom Tiffany. They call him Toxic Tom. And his legacy will be destroying our earth and destroying our natural world. He did that in 4 months, and he was able to do it. He held these meetings, public meetings, all over the state, and he would only give you 24 hours to show up to them. And sometimes it was like a 4-hour ride. He held one down by La Crosse, and it takes 4 hours to get there from where I'm from, and up in Ladysmith, you didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time you just had to keep monitoring the page to see whenever the meetings were, right? And then you try to be there. But it was so amazing to me that one man could change something that hundreds, if not thousands of people worked on. And when it got passed, it was bipartisan. Governor Scott Walker was actually a congressman or senator at the time and signed on to it. Tommy Thompson was the governor when it got passed. So it's no longer here. It got rescinded. And right now, there's multiple applications into the state right now for potential mining projects. They're doing exploratory drilling in Marathon County and Washburn and Taylor County. There's just lots of things going on that would never go before. I guess a happy note, I think, depending on how you think of it. If you're a Vikings fan, you'll like this, but Minnesota right now and the Friends of the Boundary Waters are moving that very same law through their governing body right now, and it looks like they're probably going to get it, which is incredible, which is an amazing thing. And for me and a lot of environmentalists at the time, to see that law get rescinded was a dark day for me, and it felt like we took multiple steps back as a people. And this rights of nature for me is a side door to that. That's the way I think about it. That we can hopefully at some point, come together and have a conversation around that law and see what we can do as a people. And the other thing I wanted to just say is that, the rights of nature law is very relatively new. There isn't a lot of legal history with it, which is sometimes good and bad. I think the first rights of nature law that was ever written was in 2006 in Pennsylvania. Tamaqua Borough, or I forgot how to say the second part of it. They wrote a rights of nature law, and after that, the first country to do it was Ecuador, and I think that was like in 2008 or around there, where they actually wrote it into their constitution, recognizing the Amazon River and the life-giving properties of it, and that they would always protect it. And they're still doing things with it right now in Ecuador. I was happy and fortunate enough to work with an organization that was involved in all of that. And the organization is called CEDAR, the Center of Democratic Environmental Rights, and they're out of Tacoma, Washington. And two of the co-founders, Tom Lindsay and Marty Margill, are the founders of that organization, but they're also very integral in the rights of nature movement in this country. So we've kind of been working on working with tribes to try to get them to put their own worldviews into their own governing documents, and some already have it. Some of it's already there. And I know Mr. Davis knows this, the way that we see the forest, that's rights of nature. The way that we that we sustain and sustainably cut our forest is an indigenous mindset, right? It's a worldview. And we all abide by that. There's so many unspoken things on our reservation that we've never called it rights of nature. We've never singled it out and said this is there, this is this, but we all understand it. So I think the future of rights of nature is an opportunity. And that's why usually when I go around, I wouldn't say that I usually talk to a group of young people all the time. It's a lot of white hair and things that I talk to. But in this particular case, I'm so happy that it is our elders that are here, because in your youth, you guys remember what it was like to play outside. You remember what it was like to play in these creeks and climb these trees and do all these things that you used to do. Yeah, this communion with nature that you had, whether you grew up on a farm or even in urban settings, you still had that sort of wherewithal. Our young people now don't have that. It's amazing to me to see that they're not outside as much as they probably could, as much as probably I was, and I'm sure you guys were always outside, right? Had to stay out there and play. But it's that gift that you were given that you may have when you were young, probably didn't like, and you wanted to be in the house and be nosy or whatever. But that now, in this older age, that you have that gift to remember what it was like. And I would ask that you would look into that gift and come from that gift and think about it and spread that to our young people and spread that to everybody that you possibly can, so they have an understanding of just how beautiful this place is, just how grateful we should be that we can look outside and see these beautiful trees and breathe this air and drink this water, because it truly is a miracle, to me. And there's other things that we can do. I know I've worked with Mr. Richards here, Mark and Bob, started Rights of the Nature. The website is rightsofnature.wi.org, right? And it shows that we've been meeting together, and there's a whole bunch of people that have been on the call, just trying to figure out what we can do as people and what direction it is we take, and how do we get this word out to let people know that this is happening, this movement is upon us. And if you look further outside the state borders, you'll see that this is a national and actually a global movement. It's happening all over the world. The great thing about it, at least in my opinion, is yes, our tribes had this worldview and they live that way, but there's really there's no trail that we need to follow. That we have an opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with each other as relatives, right? We lived among each other now for 500 years, at least, and we don't even know each other, right? It's time for us to get to know each other. It's time for us to bring all of our gifts to the table and see what it is we can do together to make this place the ability for our descendants to come here and experience the fullness of this creation, and that all these animals and these plants and this water can also come here and experience the fullness of this life. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I just wanted to say I'm very thankful for being able to be here and talk, and thankful to the church for allowing me to get up here and share a little bit about the rights of nature.
Thank you, God. He certainly has left us with a lot of thoughts. So please do join us, and we'll help pick his brain a little bit more in the talk back. Please stand as you are able to sing hymn number 134, Our World is One World. closing words come from Eric Williams. The world is too beautiful to be praised by only one voice. May you have the courage to sing your part. The world is too broken to be healed by only one set of hands. May you have the courage to use your gifts. May you go in peace.
Long one, folks.
And we're just going to be right here and what this is. Enough questions.
Looks really good.
Thank you for joining us today. Have a good rest of your weekend.